All right, hello. So, my name is Joe, and today I'd like to discuss drones and their ability to make an impact on our environment. We're not doing enough to solve climate change. Less than a year ago, here on this site, the world flew in private jets to pat each other on the back and continue at snail's pace of innovation to solve a problem that's charging towards us. And I don't want to turn this into a political discussion. That's not why I'm here. I'm just concerned as someone who's previously enjoyed complaining about our summer only being a week and partaking in the classic Scottish commentary that we don't recognise those blue clouds in the sky. That when the tourists start coming in the future, they will think Scotland has lovely weather all the time. Jokes aside, the severity of regular flooding is worsening. Hurricanes are getting more violent, and forest fires are destroying our primary solution. Meanwhile, much of the world fears the necessary radical change to make a practical difference. The climate question requires an innovative response, which includes being open to radical change. We need to take greater steps towards a real solution, and there are technologies out there today that can help reduce or even cut out our emissions. Scotland's commitment to sustainability is the reason why COP26 was held here. Scotland has led from the front and embraced renewable technology sources and electric vehicles. Let's push this further. It's also important that we don't just stop at electrifying things. We have to have a sustainable ecosystem that supports the manufacturing and the results that we're producing. When we produce an electric car, if we don't then recycle and reuse it at the end of its life, especially when the parts are 100% recyclable, then we've done something wrong. But you aren't here to hear me talk about electric cars and I think we're all pretty much in agreement when it comes to the need to address the climate crisis. And we can have another discussion on that later if you don't agree with me on that one. But we're here to discuss the role that drones can play in a sustainable future. Now, I'm not talking about drones that can plant trees or provide environmental surveys, and they are great and they are important. But to be truly impactful, we first need to talk about helicopters. I'd like to see a show of hands of anyone here who doesn't enjoy the sound of a helicopter above their head. I've got at least one or two, three, four. Okay, quite a few people. Okay, that's good. Personally, I'm not overly bothered by them, but at 20 decibels above the safe hearing limit, they do come with hundreds of complaints every year in the UK. But more importantly, this complicated machinery comes with significant safety risks. We all recall the tragic accident here in Glasgow that killed 10 people and injured over 30 while out on a night out in Glasgow. Every 3 years, a helicopter causes a fatality in the UK. Worldwide, that statistic is worse. Helicopters are very dangerous, but they do perform extremely important functions, and despite their high costs, often save the users even more money than they cost. Now, this talk is here about environmental impact, and that's where my focus is going to be. So on that note, helicopters use lead-filled aviation fuel, which on a health note is linked to kidney damage and impaired child development. London's air pollution is made up of 10% aviation fuel, which is a significant portion of that comes from helicopters. Nitric oxide pours out from a helicopter's exhaust. It reacts with moisture to create acid, and it reacts with sunlight to create ozone. Nitric oxide can trigger and exacerbate existing asthma symptoms, and it can even lead to the development of asthma over longer periods of time. It's also been associated with heart disease, diabetes, and birth defects. Don't worry though, I'm not here to simply scaremonger. Technology is progressing quickly and there is hope. Uncrewed aerial systems, often referred to as drones, are here to save the day. The pace of this sector means that over the course of the past decade, the technology has gone from being an interesting news piece to a viable alternative to helicopters. At Gibson Robotics, we are developing RedKite. This is our contribution towards the progress that we're all making towards a sustainable future. Our system has twice the flight time of an average helicopter. We use human-on-the-loop autonomy, which means that anyone today could pick it up and just simply use it and learn to use it within a day, but retain high-level control and decision-making authority, which is, of course, important for accountability and making sure that remains within a trusted authority. Our RedKite system does all of its own pre-flight checks, and it launches itself into the sky all by itself, and all you have to do is assign it the next task. This could be something as simple as chasing a vehicle by tapping on a car of interest and reading its license plate. Importantly, this makes the system really easy to use. Training a pilot doesn't take years, it takes days. It's packed with fail-safes, including backup batteries, redundant computers, triple redundant sensors, a dead switch parachute, 4 ground communications links with frequency hopping and anti-jamming algorithms. This is far more than any helicopter has. But we recognize that drones can't suddenly just appear in our skies. They need to build trust with the public first. And with that in mind, it's important that we have to over-engineer our drones to ensure safety and not risk any doubts. With police using an uncrewed aerial system to supplement and ultimately replace their helicopters, the benefits don't stop at environmental or safety. Police Scotland could save approximately £2 million per year by supplementing their helicopters with aerial systems like this one. Now, electric uncrewed aerial systems are not the solution on their own. There needs to be a business model that supports the life cycle of the system and maintains responsibility for the material used. At Gibson Robotics, we do this through a hardware as a service model. We maintain responsibility for managing the technology and making sure that it stays up to date and flight worthy. Anything that's damaged, requires a repair, or simply needs replaced after the end of its life, we provide all of that. Our aerial system is built with modularity in mind, and so we can upgrade the computers, change the wings, and adjust the payload all with simple click-in, click-out mechanisms. We use predictive maintenance to ensure that we intervene well before a part fails, and because we're providing this as a service, our customers don't worry about additional costs or having their drone out of service for a period of time. We simply take the hardware off their hands and replace it with working hardware with click-in, click-out systems. And all the customers worry about are their operations and how they want to use these drones every day. Now, this business model doesn't just apply to what we're doing in safety and security. This technology and business model is easily transferable to supplementing and replacing helicopter operations across the board. As an example, helicopters are still being used with 4 people sitting inside them and a piece of paper and a clipboard, I kid you not, being used to count deer by looking at the window, spotting a deer and tally marking it. This is the case in Scotland and across the world, including Norway, where it's quite a large market opportunity. The same technologies used there, same technologies used by us in our RedKite system and in our business model can be transferable to conservation operations, and we can introduce autonomy at the same time to take out paper and tally marking. There's also other operations that are easily swappable with current technology, which includes things like media, where you've got simply a camera following an F1 car, for example. I won't go on too much into those details, but you get the idea. Now, unfortunately, the solution is not as simple as we have the technology. Startups like Gibson Robotics need your support. We need support from government to be willing to test out the technology and fund it. We need users to be willing to take on trials and provide their candid feedback on their needs. And most importantly, we need the public to get behind it. Without the positive press and public support, drone technology has no chance, especially when many of the helicopter users today are government organisations like the police. Now, banning plastic straws won't stop New York from being underwater 60 years from now, but an uncrewed aerial system stands a chance of making a difference, or just a dent. With all that in mind, I hope you've learned something today. I'd like to open this up to more of a discussion, and if you've got any questions, comments, controversy, or even just concerns, I'd love to hear them and chat about them. So, I've got a microphone.
Hi there. Thanks so much for the presentation. I was really impressed actually by the red kite design and your business model. At what stage would you describe your company is currently at?
Thanks for the question. I'm glad you enjoyed the talk. With regards to the stage of Gibson Robotics, we're just coming out of our R&D phase and we're going towards commercialization. So we're now starting trials with a couple of international conglomerates, doing some stuff with the Ministry of Defence, and we're looking to start trials with Police Scotland in the near future, and we're speaking to other police forces in the rest of the UK and even across into the US, the UAE and India. The demand for this technology is certainly growing. I think the potential users of the system understand. I mean, we're not the first people to say that drones should be used for security or safety. This is in the news all the time. And police in the UK have been trialling the system since about 2019. They're now coming towards the end of those contracts and they're looking at, right, this is what they liked and didn't like about their systems, and we're trying to engage with them to find out what they liked and didn't like so we can make changes to our system during the commercialization process, and then we can start manufacturing and selling to them directly. So we're coming out of that, and as part of that, we're also looking to raise an investment round. So we're starting a seed investment round pretty soon, hoping to close in early 2023 to fund that commercialization and growth process. So yeah, hopefully you'll see red kite in the skies of Scotland pretty soon, not just for R&D, but for actual use cases. Is there any other questions?
Hiya. Sorry, I imagine you get this question a lot, but a couple of years ago when the drone took down an airport in London, how do you plan to deal with edge cases like that?
So I'm really glad you mentioned that. That incident is one of the reasons this company went from being a project to a company. So before our red kite was for applications in safety and security, it was primarily around counter drone technology. And actually one of our banners on our stand, you can check it out later, includes a diagram of how we intend to deal with a threat, an aerial threat. And one of our customers that we're trying with at the moment is concerned with that exact situation. So one of our customers is responsible for taking care of sensitive sites, and they're concerned about aerial threats coming towards them. We've also got engaged with border security forces, and they're concerned also about drones coming over. And one of the things our AI can do is pick up on other drones and investigate. So at the moment we have a detect, track and identify system where we can detect, track and identify a aerial threat coming towards a given area. And in terms of how we deal with it, we've got a net. So we deploy a net, we capture it in the sky, low collateral solution, reduces the impact on potential people on the ground. But yeah, you're right, the Gatwick incident's a serious one. And there's not a lot out there we can do about it at the moment, but it's on its way and we're working on exactly that solution. So thank you for that question. Man in the green jacket.
Hi, you spoke about the different fail-safe systems. How do you deal with GPS jamming and what happens if that does happen? How do you...
Absolutely, yeah, so there's, because we're in the security area, we're very aware that our drone could be subject to attacks. It could be, the reason we have security is because not everyone is as nice as everyone here. there are malicious actors out there, and if they know you're using drones, then they know they can jam them. So We've been using a lot of the open source intelligence that's been coming out of Russia and been working with authorities here in the UK and their intelligence to adjust our systems. Our current drone at the moment, the one you see over there, is we're testing out an inertial navigation system. So should it lose all communication to any of the satellites, whether that's Baidu, Galileo, GPS, we connect to all of them. If we lose connection to all of them, if it's a serious attack, then we can use inertial navigation systems. So that's where we use our accelerometers and sensors to measure the change in our location based on accelerometer, gyroscope data, things like that. There's of course drift. It's not perfect, but it's good enough to get you home to where you might not be being jammed or to continue on the operation. One of the things we're also working on is an R&D project with the MOD and a few other partners to employ a detect and avoid system. So that's where if a crane was put up, for example, and our map doesn't have it, our drone would be able to use the camera on its front to detect the crane and then produce a path that goes around that crane. Or if there's a new building put up and the map wasn't updated, we can do the same thing again. So at the moment we operate in known areas, but we're implementing a detect and avoid system to manage itself in a more dynamic environment. So yeah, that's a concern that we take very seriously. We also have a lot of anti-jamming technology built in, so we can move around frequencies pretty quickly, and we can swap between different satellites pretty quickly as well. So there are ways of getting around jamming situations, but we also are prepared for, should we come up against something we're not prepared for, we can also handle that situation as well. There's also problems such as hacking. If someone tries to hack our drones, the way we solve that is by having 4 communication lines, all in different frequencies, and we can hop between them all. They all have their pros and cons, which frequency you're on, so we have preferred frequencies, but we can swap between them all, and in a worst case scenario, we can just not receive instruction from the ground and continue operation as normal or return to a safe location. So, I believe you had a question.
I really like your business model and your circular economy thought. So what is your business competitive advantage that compare with other competitor in the drone industry?
Yeah, so at first we started off as I mentioned, a counter-drone technology company. My goal originally was to develop a net to prevent another Gatwick incident from ever happening again. And the problem was that there were no platforms out there that existed that could carry such a system. And so we were forced to become a drone manufacturer as well. And so we were going to just do it for counter-drone technology. And then we started speaking to police with the intention of, working with them for counter-drone purposes. And then they said to us that they were having these problems with the drones that they were employing and they were trying out, and it simply didn't have the technology that they wanted. It didn't have it wasn't built for them. And we have competitive advantages in our design, in our AI algorithms, and I can go into the technical detail, but in all honesty, I think our biggest technical advantage is that our biggest competitive advantage is that we listen to our customers. We go out and speak to them, and we get obsessed about their problems and not about our solution. And we find a lot of our competitors have come out of universities like myself and have got their solution and they're forcing them into problems. And I think this is guilty across the spectrum for drone industries. And I think you're going to see a lot of drone startups dropping off in the next couple of years as we kind of go through almost like that hype cycle. That is the Gartner hype cycle. You're going to see drone startups die off, including Amazon's. They're dead already. And you're going to see companies that listen to their customers who produce things specifically for them, they're going to come out on top. And you see this in the AI industry as well, where people have got amazing AI models. You've got these amazing AI researchers who've produced fantastic models, and they go, my AI can do everything. But people who don't understand AI, they look at that and go, I don't know what that means. What am I supposed to do with that information? So, and I admit that when we started moving towards being a platform, we very quickly started to go towards it can do anything. And we have to reel ourselves back in a little bit and say, no, we're going to focus on the specific use case. We're going to nail it. We're going to get our customers to like it. And then we're going to rebrand it yes, okay, we might use the technology. Yes, okay, the platform might be used for everything, but what we're going to do instead is focus on this specific brand is for this specific use case, and this one's for that use case. And we know that the technology is transferable, but our customers don't need to know that. They don't care that the technology can do everything. They care that it does what they need it to do. So hopefully that answers your question. I know it's a bit of a wish-washy version of competitive advantage. There are technological ones as well. We've got some really clever AI that no one else has. But honestly, listening to our customers, they care more. They can care less whether or not our AI is more accurate or can detect better than everyone else or can detect more objects than anyone else. They care that it's really easy to use. And so that's what we've started to focus really in on, is how easy is our system to use. So we've got loads of convenience features. So with other drones, you've got all these flight checks and all these other steps to get your drone into the air. DJI is pretty good at reducing that, but for commercial purposes, you've got to have more safety checks in place. And so we have ours all automated. And you simply press a button on the screen, it goes through a bunch of green ticks and says, yep, that's ready to go. And then you foot pedal, it's in the air. That's as simple as that. And then say you forgot to tell it what to do next. It'll just go up into the air and it'll wait up above you. And then you say, that was it. I need to give you the next command. So you say, I'm looking for a car in this area. Here's the area. Go have a look. And it will design its own search path based on the area you've given it and the type of task you've given it. So if you're looking for a car, it will prioritize looking at roads. If you're looking for a person, it's going to look at pedestrian areas. And then it's going to search those areas. And when it finds what you're looking for, it will then track that object. And that can be a person, a car, another drone. We do it for drones in the air as well. So if Gatwick has a drone coming towards them and they don't know what it is, they don't know if it's got a payload attached to it that we don't want in a public area, we can fly up, inspect it, get those images to someone on the ground who can say, shoot it down, or it's fine, it's just a hobbyist. Let's sniff out the signal, and we can put passive listeners on our drone to listen out for the radio signal to a threat coming towards us, and then hunt down who's controlling it, where's it coming from. So there's loads of things like that, but again, the police don't care how it does it, they care that it does do it. And that's where our focus is in. And again, it has a surprising competitive advantage. It's not a competitive advantage I ever thought I'd be selling to investors, but it matters. So, sorry, that's a long-winded answer. Is there any other questions, comments, controversy, or concerns? No. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I'll be over in that stand over there if you want to come chat to me, or even if you just want to have a look at the drones. I'm going to put the camera on so you can see the AI in action. And I don't know if the lights are working in the other drone, but hopefully we'll get them up and running as well. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys over there.